I wanted to address another subject this evening because of some incidents that happened recently. We use words, common words, words that have clear ordinary meanings, but often we use them as darts, as poisoned arrows, as spears, as swords, in order to wound other human beings. And when we do that, we should be honest enough to renounce the name Christian for ourselves. I remember during the Second World War, when I was quite young, obviously, we used to sometimes have cinema, and we go to the cinema. And we had to watch the Grumman and Pathé news. We saw the war full screen. It was very imminent and immediate to us as children. We also had to watch a propaganda film. I remember one in particular was How to Tell a Dirty Jap from Our Chinese Friends. Japs you can tell because they shuffle their feet when they walk. They never look you in the eye and they make these phony false bows instead of giving you a bold handshake. But our Chinese friends walk proud and upright with full steps, purposeful steps. They look you boldly in the eye and they give you a firm handshake when they meet you. I don't know if that's true that they do that. The firm handshake, I mean. Anyway, that was a propaganda film that we saw. In other words, would be twisted so that we would be frightened even of the Japanese and German people who lived in our own town or city, whom we'd known, seen them perhaps even born there. Yet we now became frightened of them because of the words that were used about them. We use words in an ideological way in order to generate fear, to inflict pain and hurt upon people. It happens in many cases. We have a lot of Sikh people in the neighborhood, in this area, huge number of Sikh people. They're great farmers, and they've taken over a lot of the farming here because in the Punjab, kind of a breadbasket in India, the people from Punjab are excellent farmers. Well, people sometimes get envious or just out of common ignorance refer to them as Hindus. Of course, they're not Hindus at all, they're Sikhs. Now, Hindu should not be thought of as a pejorative, but it's being used as a pejorative. It's being used as a way to wound people. You could say, oh, our neighbors are Hindus, the farmers next door. But no, these bandage-head people are Hindus, bandage heads, because they wear turbans. They're good people and great farmers. A couple of incidents came up recently that in the area, and it made me reflect on the fact that once, I think last year, earlier in the year, someone called me from the Greek church in America and said, well, they'd seen some of my videos and I would be perhaps a good person for them to have on their radio program to say something about how the church could minister to gay people who are in same-sex marriages, and of course Massachusetts, in the States, of course in Canada, every place, in 9 countries, I think around the world, Uruguay and Argentina also. This is a situation which people have to reflect upon. I was ready to join them for the broadcast, but when the person who called said something about a gay lifestyle, I took umbrage to it because there's no such thing as a gay lifestyle. And she started to tell me why. Oh yes, a gay lifestyle, because your lifestyle is who you sleep with. The lifestyle of Hollywood stars, which you see in magazines labeled the lifestyle of Hollywood stars, generally means that you drink, take some dope, and get divorced ever so often. Most of the magazines you see about celebrities, most of whose names I don't recognize any longer, is really that they're either getting divorced or they're cheating on their spouse or something. This is a lifestyle. A lifestyle is what your economic bracket is, what your political leanings are. You drive a fancy car or an old beater. Whether you have a high-paying job, a low-paying job, a waitress in a restaurant, or an executive in some corporation, or a member of parliament. What kind of clothing do you buy? Where do you shop? How often do you eat out, and where do you eat out? What kind of friends do you keep? These are all what make up a lifestyle. Gay people have exactly the same lifestyles as everybody else. Some are parents and raise children. They get stuck in traffic jams on the way home. Some work in restaurants. Some dig ditches. Some work in mines in the far north. In fact, they have their own organization up there for gay people who work in the diamond mines or in the coal mines or gold mines or in the oil sand, tar sands, one of our great Canadian shames. They have the same lifestyle as everyone else. Now, one can be completely opposed to same-sex marriage. One can have a low opinion of gay people, although, as we know now, of course, they're born that way. They have absolutely no choice in the matter whatsoever. It has something to do with epigenetics. And you can have any kind of, okay, it's a sin. We consider it a sin. But to use words in a dishonest way, in a fraudulent way, in order to degrade people who are not like you, who are not like me. This is sinful also. And people who do it likely should not be taking communion because they're using words to lie with. I said before, and I don't mind saying it again, ultra-conservatives, ultra-right-wing people truly believe that lying is a virtue when it's done for the defense of their ideologies. They don't mind telling evil lies, lies that could probably end up in somebody's death. I mean, some of the ludicrous, almost insane things that are said about President Obama could lead to him being assassinated, which wouldn't be terribly good for America's reputation. I think having John F. Kennedy assassinated and someone attempting to assassinate Mr. Reagan is probably enough for at least a century. We don't need to provoke someone to assassinate another president by telling these truly ungodly and shameless lies about them. There are plenty of things to criticize in politicians that are true, all politicians. But telling deceitful lies to try to bolster our own ideologies, shame, shame. That's the one thing I wanted to mention about it. So many of the things that Christians do, the more fundamentalist Christians are, the more ultra-conservative they are, the more they lie and deceive. That's not something that passes notice among the rest of the population. Why is it that we cannot, as Christians, be genuinely honest and try to find out and know what we're talking about before we say it? We can say that something's a sin without using, in a deceptive and fraudulent manner, words to try to hurt people with. This is something that, as Christians, if we cannot master that? Why is it that when all the Christians in a country get together, the vast majority of them, to aim all of their energies and all of their money and all of their struggling toward something, to block some legislation or something? Why is it that it fails time after time after time? Christians in Canada once, I remember some Protestants telling me that they came to the verge of losing their faith because they had a nationwide pray-in and prayed to block some legislation in the Canadian Parliament, and that a different legislation would be passed instead, and they lost completely. Why didn't God answer their prayers? Perhaps part of it was because they were praying from malice and not from faith, because they were praying from arrogant self-righteousness and praying against human beings and not praying for life itself. The more of this fraudulence and lies and misusing words, writing poison pin letters, it's all the same. It's shameless and immoral to do that. No matter what you're aiming it against, to lie, to use words to lie with, to use words in a slanderous propaganda way in order to degrade other human beings. It's not a Christian thing to do, no matter what you justify it by. It's evil, it's sinful, it's a lie. So why do it? Our Lord Jesus Christ never taught us anything like that. Nor did the apostle teach us that lying and slandering and misusing words in order to hurt people. Apostle Paul never taught us anything like that. Where did it come from? It comes from the evil one, brothers and sisters. It comes from the evil one who wants to lead us into this self-righteousness and this arrogance. Sin is sin. We have no problem to say something is a sin. Adultery, all of these things that happen. Divorce can be a sin also. Sometimes it can be absolutely necessary. But divorce is essentially sin. And why don't we use the pejorative about divorce? Because divorce is what destroys families. What leaves children with a single parent? Maybe one weekend they have a father, the rest of the week they have a mother, but they never have two parents in one place at one time because of the evil of divorce, the sin of divorce. Brothers and sisters, let's stop sometimes catch ourselves in the heat of our fury and our self-righteousness and ask ourselves, is what we're saying the truth, or is it just a propaganda lie? And if I'm telling lies for the sake of an ideology, what does that do to my soul? What does that mean when I go to take Holy Communion? These are essential questions to ask ourselves. It's like people who are furious because I broadcasted trying to explain the matter of transgender. And we had some people so filled with hate, their souls so boiled in malice, that they refused even to look into the matter and try to understand what really is going on in these situations, that they would inflict immeasurable suffering on totally innocent people because of their own seething hatred and boiling malice. There's no other way to describe it. Brothers and sisters, let's stop and think about these things a little. I was asked by an Orthodox group of some kind to broadcast and say how offer some ideas how we could minister to gay people, to gay couples who are legally married in some state. And I have to say, first of all, try to understand exactly what's going on. Try to understand that these people made no free will choice to be gay or not to be gay, that they were born that way. And we know that scientifically. It's far too profoundly demonstrated in science. It's not even difficult to figure out how it happens. You want to say something is a sin, say it's a sin, but say it honorably and honestly and sincerely, not couched in all kinds of derogatory lies and derogatory misuses of language. How do we minister to them? Let each priest follow his own conscience. Let every diocese take its own decision. And to what degree one can minister to people. But above all, try not to be ignorant about the matter. Try to gain an understanding, some knowledge about it. It's not to say that one should say sin is not sin, but that we don't need to try to wound, hurt, and destroy people. See, the anger and malice in this case is born of fear. And moral outrage is a form of confession. Because we hate most in others what we fear most in ourselves. Without that fear, we can be kind, gentle, and compassionate. Try to gain understanding, and then gauge in an honest, honorable, compassionate way to what degree we can minister to these people. Hate, anger, malice, these are a lifestyle inspired by Satan and the darkest parts of the human heart. We need to conquer and overcome those things in order to minister in the best way possible without compromising the faith. It's really as simple as that. If you feel anger, if you feel hatred, if you feel malice, there's something wrong with you. Your soul is darkened. And no matter how much you obey and follow rules and regulations, you're still immoral. Because hate, malice, and anger are immoral and are inspired by the devil, not by God. Thank you, and God bless you.